The Chickens Lady. I have no idea why, but the story that I'm about to tell you has came up to my mind lately after many years of being totally forgotten. I truly have no idea why I suddenly thought about this lady after so many years. And even more than that, I have no idea why my first instinct was I have to blog about that. My initial reaction to this first instinct was no way. If I write this here, if I talk about this here, I will need to reveal so many parts of my story that I really don't talk about anymore, let alone write and talk about it so publicly. But I think that because it is so revealing in so many uncomfortable different ways, that is exactly why I just had to do it. So after this really long prep, here is the story. In the past, I have self-admitted twice into a psychiatric institute. There I just said it. It was not glamorous, but it is the truth, and it was very necessary at the time. We can debate if these institutes are really very helpful, but this is not the point I'm making here. My point is that I was there and something really powerful happened to me there. One day, during my first visit there, my family came to visit me. To put it mildly, I didn't feel like seeing them. As a way of clearly expressing that, I decided to start making drama and threw things all over the place, which for that I was sent to isolation, which I also refused very clearly and loudly. The day after, I was allowed to go outside a little bit, but I was still residing in the isolation room, mostly in order to isolate me from my stuff. And on that day, the strangest thing happened. It was not a big institute, and they only had 2 isolation rooms. One for cases of emergency, like me, for example, and one where another woman was living quite permanently. I knew she existed and I knew she lived in that room, but nobody ever really talked with her or saw her very much. She was the kind of stereotypical mental institute lady. Always in her pajamas, never come to her, not really communicative, But on that day, she decided to talk, or at least to talk with me. She said she had heard my screamings and crying the day before, and that she wanted to show me something. And when a person like that wants to show you something in a room, you go. So I went, and she opened her closet, and there it was, at least 10 untouched grilled chickens she got from her family. It was clear to see and smell that some of them had been sitting there for quite some time. I had already been a hardcore vegetarian for many years by this point, so you can only imagine my double disgust by the killed, grilled, and uneaten chickens. But somehow, beyond the shock and the disgust, in all of my naivety and stupidity, I managed to say to her, "Why do you keep this here? You cannot eat this anymore. Let's throw it away." And we got a garbage bag or something like that from the staff. I have no idea how I convinced them to do that. And we threw away those poor chickens. The woman thanked me a lot, and after that I actually never saw her again, because the day after I was allowed back to my room, and shortly after that I was released. I never told this story to anybody beside my psychologist in this institute. She was almost as shocked as me. It appeared that no staff member had been allowed to see why the closet stank so bad, let alone help her clean it out. But she was a good therapist, and she knew to capitalize on this moment. And she told me, "You see, maybe you belong to our side, the therapist's side." I don't believe in sides anymore, but I do know that this sentence was the beginning of my long, hard recovery process. That this lady helped me to see another part of myself that at that time I didn't think existed. We all have both sides. We all have the ability to go crazy and sick, and the ability to heal ourselves and others. We all have great darkness in us, but we all have an even bigger internal light that we can access even in our worst moments. And this is why I decided to share this story with you. Because at some point, I decided to follow the light and not the darkness. And I want to advise you to do the same. Don't forget your light, ever. And never desert it. Even when the darkness is so big and the light is very small. Healing yourself as well as others begins in these very small moments when we are brave enough to access this light. This time in my life is very blurry. It was a long time ago and I was medicated. So it could be that I got some of the details wrong, but this moment of helping another and remembering that I could help others, this moment of pure human connection, I remember very well. And I hope I will never forget. There was and there is still no other reason for me to keep recovering other than for these kind of moments of really deep humanity. This deep humanity in us is what enables us to help, to recover, to heal, to change for the better. We tend to forget that so often and just fall prey to the lie that we are naturally damaged and nobody ever changed. But I have changed a lot since that day, and I'm sure that the chickens lady have changed as well, because we were both brave enough at that moment to look beyond our fear and to act differently. And you can change and heal and recover as well, if you just dare.